Hello everyone, my name is Barbara. I'm the Polish girl who lives in Ireland and likes to knit. And today I have a finished object for you, which is this amazing sweater that I knitted. I'm so happy. Now, I hope you love it because I love it too. First things first, it is a finished object video. It is not a tutorial. This is a paintbook pattern, and the name of this amazing sweater, it's so easy, Keys. I think because of the design, presume, and the name of the designer is Trin. I hope I'm saying it right. You've seen it on the screen. I'm so excited, so probably you hear this. Okay, so first things first. Now, I was using a bag, but it's gone. And then I switched it for a bigger bag because I had to fit it stuff. So I was using my handbag to do that. Oh, this one. Now, maybe what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell you what the pattern recommends you to do. And then I'm going to tell you what exactly I did, because I had completely different stuff. The pattern tells you to get a gauge, 19 stitches by 26 rounds, work in a round, blocked, and stockinette stitch, and I think that's all. They recommend to get a proper number of stitches and rounds because it's very important to get it because of the depth of the yoke, right? Scary as that sound, I did not get a gauge. Manage! Anyway, the yarn they recommend, Brooklyn tweed shelter, and what you probably need to know, they come in the 50-gram balls. So in the pattern it tells you just the yardage for that 50-gram, which they say 128 meters, which is 140 yards. So let's just multiply it because normally my brain works in 100 grams, and this is 256 meters, which is 280 yards. So if you have a yarn in stash that would be quite similar between 256 meters or 280 yards, whichever metric you work, you can probably go for it. Then the gauge the designer got, and believe me, everyone has a different tension, so with this yarn or quite similar one, try to find your own thing. The starting point could be that you grab the needles the designer has and see if you go one higher or one lower, and are you going to get a gauge. So the designer got the gauge in the biggest size, which is US size 7, 4.5 millimeters, and the smaller one she was knitting ribbing, which is US size 6, 4 millimeters. And the other thing that you should probably know is that this sweater has an amazing construction. Kind of scared me first because I have never done it, so it's my first time ever sweater knitted in the hybrid construction. Hybrid construction means that it's kind of like this. Okay, so designer tells you to cast on so many stitches to start the bottom of the yoke, and you're knitting everything up and you finish with collar. Then you, because you did a provisional cast on using a hook, and no worries, there is even a link for you to see how it's done, so it's quite easy. The only thing is that you have to cast on loads of stitches in that method, and once you finish it, even though I did that, then I had to literally take the provisional cast on one by one and put it back on the needle. The good thing that the yarn I used is 100% wool, rustic yarn. I'm not sure what about the Brooklyn tweed shelter is, I didn't write it down, but literally the stitches are standing and you can just put them on the needle. But it's not the way you drop the stitch and you see that stitch hanging. It's a completely different story when you're picking it up, because this stitch is kind of down and there's just a waste yarn going, and you have to kind of pick it in, so you can go few, you just need to go one by one. It took a while, just from saying. I'm not a fan of it. I can do it, but it's just, yeah, you know, it could be that you can be stuck. But I believe that's why we're knitting it, because of the design. I think it would be completely different if you would want to go from the top down. And anyway, at that stage, I did a little bit longer. I made it a little longer. Do I regret it? A little bit, because I was just afraid, because this is yarn that I got from Poland, and or I got in Poland, and not from in Poland, and I got it from like a farmer's. It's I don't think it's like in Poland. I don't think that we have even. I live in Ireland, actually, just letting you know. I was on holidays in Poland, and I got this yarn, and then, like, you know, we have market that you can get everything, and I got this yarn, and I can show you because I still have some of it, or should I say I have some of it, and this is it. So what I did, it came like in the 4 skeins wrapped in another bit of a skein, and each skein has a different weight from perspective of heaviness. So this one is 170 gram. I figure out that approximately this yarn is 120 meters in 100 grams. So you see, the design is for 256 meters, and this is 120 meters. But I got quite a near gauge. Also, this is one, and this is another one that I use for the contrast color. I call this one a coal, like, you know, coal miner, and this is, I call it light green. So I have a bit of this. I was thinking maybe of this stashing, but I'm actually casting on a sweater with it, because once you knit a sweater for a certain number of, with certain size of the needles, you get the gauge. You get always some kind of gauge, and even if it doesn't fit to this sweater, you can always use that gauge to maybe knit another sweater. And that's what I'm doing with the same yarn. I'm doing a test knit for someone else, not for me. So I'm so happy about it. So I can kind of help out. Well, hopefully I'll help out. Right, so so what the gauge did I get? I got 16 stitches by 24 rounds. Okay, just to remind you, the pattern calls 19 stitches. I got 16 stitches. Pattern calls for 26 rounds. I got 24 rounds. So completely off. And I got this on 4mm needles. I got 3.5 on the ribbing, although, and here on the ribbing, but I did not do that on the, for my bottom. I did just 4mm. And yeah, so what I decided that with, how do you work with a gauge? So basically those 16 stitches that I got, they're in the 10 centimeter kind of section. So if you know your measurements in, let's say, centimeters or inches, you know how many stitches you have in that 10 centimeters, so how many stitches per each section you can fit in that area. And the same thing is with the rounds. So the same thing, the designer tells you that you have so many rounds in that 10 centimeters. So if you get more or less, you need to just remember that you want this, that you want to get the same length of fabric that the designer wants to get, and then because of that you will have a different number of rounds in that, because you got a completely different gauge. That's why the gauge is important. So if you get the gauge that the designer gets, you know that whatever distance the designer tells you to do, you will get exactly the same, and you don't have to worry too much about it. In regards to what I told you, that once I finished knitting up and then I just joined the needles or pick up the needles and I wanted to go down, I decided to go a little bit longer. Why? Because this is very rustic yarn. I've never knitted a sweater in this yarn, and I was a little bit afraid that it could be itchy and stuff, and I would not definitely want to have an itchy armpits, you know, so better to have it a little bit farther away from this area, and that's why I did that. But literally I could follow the instruction of designers and it will be perfect. Like I said, I'm testing this yarn. I don't have a clue, so I'm happy the way I did it, and I'm not sure with this yarn would I do it. At the moment I want to compare it. The other sweater that I knitted with a 100% wool is Arboreal sweater by Jennifer Steingas, and the same feeling I had when I was knitting with the yarn, that it's too rustic, and I'm wearing it and got kind of felted by the wearing of it. So I'm just hoping that when I wash it a few times, and I maybe not even wash it a few times, but I wear it a few times, this kind of blends in and it will be okay. I had already test drive with this sweater. I went to a knit night, so I didn't have wave-in ends, I didn't have my tags, I just went for it, and I knew it was going to be quite warm. Where we hang out is a hotel lobby, and so I was wearing a sleeveless top. Oh, so that was a little bit exciting. I did not have any rush or any red areas over here, but it was kind of crinkly. Is that a word? Crinkly? And but in 2 minutes I was used to it. I had a little bit red marks at the beginning when I wore it, and as you can see now I don't have it, so my neck kind of used to it. But it is rustic. It is rustic. But I love it, so that's why I'm knitting another sweater with it. And it's more fitted now, at least we hope that. So now, what else? What size did I knit? So if I got the 16 stitches by 23 rounds, I followed the smallest size. So what I did, I went through the pattern and checked how many stitches in each section. For instance, here the designer will have with that small size, and if I take that number of stitches and divide it by the 16 stitches that I got, so how many repetitions of 10 centimeters I'm going to get in this area. So obviously if I measure myself and I know I have to have 100, I actually, well, in the bust I have that, but that's the thing, was kind of tricky for me because you had to get the bust and the arms circumference, because you're casting on not the bust area, but you're casting on bust plus the arms, and I had to read before that there was a cast on stitches over here, so we were only talking about the bust circumference and 2 sleeve circumference. Get the stitches and I minus them by the stitches that designer want to cast on when you separate for the sleeves and you just knit the body. So that's what I did, and that kind of ended up pretty well. I was quite frightened because, to be honest, I did not think about those cast on stitches, and I thought, whoopsie, I have like stitches by 1.5 sleeve. But then we were casting on over here, and obviously the yarn has some kind of bounce to it, and we're still not, I think it's a hand spun thing. I don't think we have a mill in Poland. If you know, do we have a mill in Poland that you can send yarn and have it nicely done, let me know, because I already know a few farmers with their sheep. But I live so far. Anyway, so that once I finished the color work was quite nice. You have to, like I said, for the cast on, for the provisional cast on, you have a link. For the short rows, how to do, because we have short rows on the back, there is a link to the video, and there's another link to something else, I don't remember, but I think there are 3 links overall, or definitely 2. In regards to the chart, you have 2 charts. One is for the big section, one is for the smaller sections, which you can have on the sleeves and on the bottom, so I did that. What else is quite interesting and nice about this pattern, or something that I don't like? Like I said, I don't like that I had to go here, because even with socks I prefer to cast on 12 stitches and go for it than 56 stitches or 64 stitches and go for it, and this was like, you know, over 300. So yeah, small size, and I think that's that. There's nothing else I can tell you more. If you know how to knit a hat, it's quite similar. The hybrid version is just, you need to check that link, because you're kind of start from the bottom and then you're decreasing it with some color work. It's just slightly bigger hat, and then the video shows you how to pick up, you know, the stitches. That's kind of stressful thing a little bit, to be honest. It is. For a beginner, and then but once you get that part, it's just you cast on some stitches with a, oh yeah, there was a 3rd video about the back loop cast on method, and you just go down, which is just round, so you know how to do it, and the same thing you do with the sleeves. It's just a matter of finding time and knitting on it, that's all. But because it's quite a bulky yarn, and I think over here Brooklyn Tweed Shelter will be like, wow, worth it. It flies by. I love it so much. So over here, maybe I'm going to show you what kind of progress, how my progress looked like on Instagram, because I think that's the only photos I have taken. So you can check it out on the screen here, a few. I'm just chit-chatting because I don't know how long it's going to take, so enjoy that little slide bit. but I have all the sweater on my needles, and because I really want to show you something that I come up with, and maybe it's be a handful for you. So basically, when I was dividing this sweater for the sleeves, I used cable. Like, you have interchangeable needles and you have those bits that you can screw them, so tie them, or that's basically a better word, and block like with plastic bits, but you have to have those bits and blah blah blah. So I figure out it's a little bit too... It's fine, you can do on the waste yarn, or you can do on those interchangeable cables, or you can do what I did. I just basically got during the Christmas sock needles from my friend, which are completely different size. This is like 2.5 millimeters and 2.25 millimeters. So let's say one's US size 1 and UN size 1.2, I think. And what I did, as you can see now over here, I just put on hold stitches using needles, so I don't have to put back in needles in the, and I use my pouches just to hold them so they're not poking my eyes. And you can see you have another one, third one, my main thing that I'm going in around. So this is another sweater that I'm knitting, yeah. And this is the right side, sorry for this is I joined. Anyway, more about it later. But how do you like it? This is, if you're interested what this pattern is, this is White Horse by Caitlin Hunter. Lovely. So I have those dingling things over here. These are my pouches. If you're looking for them, check the link down below, shop and enjoy. Shipping is quite cheap. Okie dokie. A little bit of my little pouches over here, so I hope you enjoy that a bit. And I think that's all. If you have any questions, please leave comments down below. And check how rustic this is. It smells so nice. I don't know, I love that smell. Okay, so I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what kind of sweaters you have on your needles, or if you don't have sweaters but you've knitted sweaters, you definitely have one or two sweaters that you loved knitting and you loved wearing it afterwards. So let me know what those are. I'm very interested, because I think 2019 could be my sweater weather year. Although I do not have so many sweater quantities of yarn. I have this yarn, which I'm knitting a sweater, and probably after that I may run out of it. Maybe not, maybe I have another one. And then I have that from the Knit Crate. I got some 2 skeins of yarn, but I was able to get another 2, and I was able to swap, so I have 6 overall, which is worth it. I probably knit some open cardigan open, which I won't probably even be able to close myself here. I'm waiting for the yarn that I got from Knitpicks, but Knitpick doesn't sell a yarn to Ireland, so I got my friend to get it for me, and then she shipped it to me, which will take a year and a half, no, a month and a half. So hopefully I get that, and that's 2 or 3 quantities of sweater quantity yarn. Yeah, or if you don't have any sweaters but you have a stash and you know how many sweater quantities of yarn you have, write it down below. And yeah, I hope we're all enjoying knitting a bit of sweater here and there. That's for sure. I'm going to have sweater on my needles all the time. I enjoy this, I love it so much. Hope you will too if you want to knit this one. I would really recommend it, it was fun. And I told you the things that you may find a little bit challenging, but you will go through it, do not worry. And I hope to see you next one. Don't forget to check other playlists. I have sweaters, hats, shawls. Maybe you find something you like. Bye!